Four-game series on deck for the Marlins against division rivals, the Atlanta Braves, and old friend for both clubs back in the mix, Jorge Soler. We're going to be looking ahead to this series. Max Meyer pitching against the Braves again in game one. This could be spicy. This is Locked on Marlins.
You are Locked on Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked on Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day. Thanks for making Locked on Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Reminder as well, there's a YouTube channel. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments, particularly question of the day, Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler, should the Marlins have extended him? Should they have re-signed him? He's now on the Braves. We're going to get a good look at Jorge Soler back with the Bravos. But that is the question of the day. Delighted to welcome onto the show one of my favorite Braves Twitter fans, Alex Greenberg, but you know him on Twitter specifically at AcunaTracker. Alex, how we doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I am doing well. There's been a lot of deadline talk. There's been a lot of off-field conversations for the past week, but it feels like a great time to kind of have a Brave series. I love a Brave series, and it always gets the juices flowing. Yep. Exactly. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped for this series, and I love a 4-game series as well. So, looking forward to this series ahead. Looking forward to this conversation as well, because we haven't seen the Braves for some time. And so I think there's a lot to cover here. So this should be a real fun one. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends and our sponsors of the show over at Game Time. And you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Alex, give me the sense. We haven't seen the Braves for a number of months. And when we did see them early in the season, it was stereotypical Bravos. They were on fire. Everything was pumping. Obviously, Spencer Strider was out for the year at that point. But the Bravos were on fire. It's fair to say there's been some further challenges since. So just bring us up to speed of like what's been happening in Braves land at this point and where things are at kind of post-deadline.
Yeah, definitely, Peter. Totally different team. Totally different. And not exactly what the plan was. We lost Strider right away. We lost Acuna right away. Michael Harris struggled, and then he got hurt, and he tweaked his hammy on the way back. So he's still waiting. We got about 10 days till we see him again. Okay. Ozuna, believe it or not, we were about to cut this guy. You know what? Last year in Miami is when this dude turned it around. We were about to cut this guy last year in Miami. Everyone said we're about to cut him, and he turned it on, and he's been on a year-long heater. I mean, the guy has been awesome. Riley got hurt, which he usually doesn't. He got off to a slow start after he came back, but he's been great. Recently, he's been great. Sean Murphy, that Alex Anthopoulos doesn't miss too much, but that Murphy-Contreras trade was not something that's looking good yet. But, he's back. And he's playing okay. He's starting to heat up a little bit, but Darno, weird enough, is taking most of the playing time, which was not the plan. And then you got Matt Olson up until about a week ago. I mean, he's played every game, but he has not produced. But as you saw yesterday, he had back-to-back home runs with Travis Darno twice in the same game, which was awesome. Wow. I think it's only been done like 13 times in the history of baseball, or some ridiculous number. It's kind of an odd stat, but he's starting to turn it on. So I think you're going to see a great version of him. We did what we've always done recently, is just pick up a bunch of old friends, get the gang back together.
That's it.
We grabbed Rosario, and when Rosario's swinging well, he's great. It's kind of hit and miss with him. Grabbed Duvall, and Duvall had a couple good games, but he's okay in the field still, but he's not the Duvall that you saw and I saw just a few years back. He's kind of a different guy now. Kelnick has played pretty decent this year, so he's, but not great. And to be honest, they moved into the leadoff spot, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. And he was great for about a week, but then he went on this like 3 for 40 or something, like some ridiculous number. And then our pitchers, you're going to see a couple of guys in the series like Schwellenbach. I don't think you've seen him yet, right?
Nope, never.
You're going to, yeah, the guy can pitch. And so our pitching, believe it or not, see, last year was all about our offense. This year, our pitching is really the only thing that's kept us afloat, and Marcell Ozuna. So it's going to be a little bit different. But yeah, Sale's Sale is like, you know, you questioned the trade at the time, I guess, but we doubled down on him right when we traded for him. And we immediately signed him to an extension, which a lot of people question that, but the guy's been awesome. So, you know, you're about to see two guys return that haven't pitched in a little while this weekend. Ronaldo Lopez had an elbow injury scare. I don't even think he's going to miss a start. So we got lucky in that one. He had an MRI. You know how it is with elbows. All you hear is discomfort and you're scared.
Yeah.
You know, like Alcantara, you know?
Yep, exactly. You think they're done.
Yeah, it's the worst thing about baseball. And there's almost nothing we could do about it. But you're going to see a team that, you know, just brought back both of our friends, Soler and Luke Jackson. And these guys are kind of on the up right now. And the team is starting to kind of put it back together. And there's guys that are kind of waiting in the wings, you know, to get healthy. And I think you're catching us at a time where we're about to get pretty hot. Like we should feasibly win this series, I would think, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's standard Bravos, right? Where the Marlins catch them at the wrong time and things go crazy. But just give me a reaction to Jorge Soler returning back to the Braves. Obviously, I mean, iconic. Whenever I think of Jorge Soler, I think of that iconic home run for the Braves. That's the only memory I have, I think, of Jorge Soler, to be honest with you. But, your reaction to him coming back, and obviously a couple of years of control. So, the Braves are taking on the money as well. I don't know if there's any player options involved in that, but potentially he's going to be around for not just this year, but a couple after as well. So Jorge Soler back to the Braves. What was your reaction to that?
I love that guy. You love that guy too. I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great teammate. He could get on base. I love players that could just like work counts. He could work a count really well. He's a really good ball player. I guess on the surface, you're looking at it, you're like kind of scratch your head a little bit because you're like, okay, well, next year we have Acuna in right, Harrison center, and Kelnick in left, and then Ozuna is our DH. Like we cannot put that guy in the field. We just cannot, not at this point.
No.
And so
he's done.
It's kind of an interesting dynamic because Alex Anthopoulos came out the other day and said Acuna should be ready in the first couple of weeks of next year. Okay. So we're gonna have, I guess, a good problem in a weird way, but I'm not sure what we're gonna do long term with him. But in the short term, I love it. One thing our GM does so well is he picks guys at the right time to trade for. So like with Soler, if you look at his stats overall, you're like, oh, this guy's like, he's not having a great season. Why did we take on this contract? But if you look just a little closer and you see like his last 14 games, he's 333, 460 OBP, and over 1,000 OPS and 569 slugging. So he catches them at the right time, Yeah. And he did the same with Luke Jackson, dude. I mean, Luke Jackson, if you look at his overall stats, it's a negative WAR. But if you look at his last 9 innings pitched, it appears he found his slider. So he's got 13 Ks and 1 walk with a 182 batting average against. So I think he just gets guys we'll see what happens, but I think he tends to get guys at the right time more times than not.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Soler. He's great.
Oh, for sure. I love him too. And it was a lot of frustration around from a Marlins perspective. Like, let's kind of put the clock back to the offseason. And, they make the postseason, the Marlins. Soler opts out. They have an opportunity to extend a qualifying offer. They don't do that. They don't really, I have no idea why they didn't actually extend the qualifying offer to Soler. It's still a bit of a puzzle to me, but you then get from the Marlins new front office as well to say, hey, well, we got a full year of Berger and Bell, but it's like, well, we already had Berger and Bell. They were there. And we also had Soler. So, you can't sell that to me. I'm not buying it. And lo and behold, obviously the Marlins started, they were pretty much like, they were done in 2 weeks. So the season was cooked in 2 weeks. And,
I think you declared it over actually on Twitter after about 2-3 weeks. Yeah,
exactly. But I love Soler too, and I'm looking forward to seeing him back. And listen, from a Marlins perspective, the wins and losses at this point, it doesn't matter. This season, it doesn't matter. So everyone can just go out there, play loose. But for the Braves, though, Alex, like things have tightened right up here in terms of this wild card hunt. I know the division, like, probably looks ambitious. The Phils, they just got swept by the Jazz Chisholm inspired Yankees, but 6.5 back is probably going to be a little bit of a stretch for them with the offense they've got. But I think they should be probably looking backwards at this point. This wild card has got super tight, right?
I know it's super tight, and if you would look back like a month and a half ago, I mean, we had total control, it appeared, of the wild card, and we just, I mean, I think it was last week we had like a 7-game losing streak or 8-game. I mean, we haven't done that since 2017.
Yeah, like, rebuild season then.
Yeah, we've just absolutely allowed them to catch up to us because of this offense and inconsistency in play. And if this team doesn't continue to find its mojo at the way they have in this last series, then there's no doubt in my mind that someone like the Cardinals, the Padres, even the Mets, who we just thought were dead. I mean, they're right there, and they're only a game and a half back.
They were sellers. They were selling a month ago. We were talking about like the Mets. Oh, they're going to strip it down. They're going to go for the number 1 pick. It's the Marlins and Mets and the Rockies and the White Sox. And
they're right on our heels. And so,
they went to London and they turned around. The Mets, they that flight. I don't know what happened on that flight back, but it transformed them.
I know something happened on that flight.
Unspeakable things happened on that flight.
Yeah,
but the Mets
not
got
our
hot,
business.
No doubt. But like the Mets are only a half game back of the wild card at this point.
I know.
It's totally insane. The Cardinals are a game and a half back. The Pirates 2.5. I think that's your cluster. If I look at who are the teams that are in the mix, obviously the Bravos in pole position right now. Braves, Padres, Diamondbacks, they're the 3 in position. And then you've got what I think 3 hunting it down in the Mets, Cardinals, and Pirates. I think the Giants were selling. The Reds didn't make any moves. The Cubs kind of made some moves, but I'm not convinced the Cubs are in it. And
I'm not either.
Yeah, so I think it's probably 3 from 6, to be honest, which I think makes it intriguing. I mean, what's your sense on the change of the wild card going to 1 extra? I mean, from a Marlins fan perspective, was all in on that situation because we haven't sniffed a division ever.
I know.
So,
last year was
more
awesome
wild cards
because of it for you guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't. With that, see, the only problem I have one issue with it, a big issue. So I think it makes the trade deadline even tougher because there's not as many sellers.
Yeah, agreed.
There's just not as many sellers. There's teams that would be selling that just clearly didn't, because maybe like the Pirates, or Cubs or whatever, but there's not as many sellers. So I think it's a little difficult when it comes to that. I'm not gonna lie, I might be in the minority, but I love the wild card game. I know that you're like, well, the whole season comes down to 1 game. Yes, that's true. But with that though, then the goal should be to win the division. It makes the division even more of a crown. Right now, if you win the division, you get those days off. But man, you've seen teams like the Braves and guys just get bounced because they've just been sitting around for 5 days. And then if they clinch it earlier, they kind of been sitting around for 10 days. And I don't know.
That's the problem, innit? That definitely was a narrative last year around, wasn't it? I remember it, where it feels like the teams that are taking the number 1 seed effectively are being penalized because they just sat around for so long, and they get cold. They cool off, particularly the offense, I think. So it's a tough one. I get it where baseball went to, and I think in general, from a team that is a small market team and a team that it's on 500 is good. It does keep the interest, right? We saw that last year with the Marlins. It keeps the market engaged. It keeps people enthused. More eyeballs on, and I think that's a good thing. But to your point, it does tweak the deadline. I think that is a real, it's a bit of collateral damage here, where more teams aren't selling like they would have been before.
You didn't see as many big names moved. I know we saw Jazz, but other than that, I mean, Jack Flaherty, he's pitching great this year, but he's not a huge star. I mean,
no. I mean, I agree. Just on Jazz briefly, I know because you messaged me the other day about it, direct message anyway, to say, would have enjoyed that one. I mean, I talked about it on this show a few weeks back to say, listen, the rumors are surfacing. Sounds like he'd be moved. I'd love, in many ways, I'd hate him to go to the Braves, division rival, obviously, but it'd be a great fit there. I think would have seen it the same, right? You'd have enjoyed Jazz on the Braves.
Oh, absolutely. I think, I think Jazz was just misunderstood. These people get these labels like Acuna did. You get these labels like, oh, this guy's a bad clubhouse guy. That's not always true. Maybe Jazz didn't mesh with what's that guy?
Miguel Rojas.
Yeah, maybe he didn't mesh with some of the old guard because they just
Yep.
didn't like his style or whatever. But I mean, from everything I've heard with this current Marlins, like last 4 year, whatever, they love the guy and he's just himself. And I love Jazz. I think he is a great teammate. I think he's electric. And to be honest, like I was thinking about this trade in general. Like, yeah, I know you got a nice package back, but think about when the Braves went into rebuild mode, like tear down rebuild mode in like 2014, 15, when they just got rid of everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kept Freeman. And I think they should have kept Jazz because you got to have somebody to latch onto. You got to have somebody. Yeah. Like you have to have somebody as a fan base. And the Marlins fan base, you know, is excellent. Anybody I've ever interacted with, I mean, the Marlins fan base loves their Marlins. And you got to have somebody you could stick on the billboards and just a voice. And that's what Freeman was to help at least me get through like the rough years, you know?
Yep.
And I don't know. I didn't. What do you think? Do you think they should have traded him? I didn't think so.
Alex, I think you make a stunning point. I think this is where it hurts me most is when you go through a rebuild as a fan, you need players to just, it becomes less about the results because it's, you know, the team's not going to be good. And so you need the players to attach to help see you through that pain. And Jazz is that guy because he's so dynamic. But equally, the problem there is they're in a rebuild. You kickstart the rebuild by moving the most valuable guys. But I'm with you. I was extremely disappointed to see Jazz Chisholm Jr.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch.
Yeah, so fun and undervalued. Like, we're going to see how it plays out in New York, but I already know how it's going to play out, and it's going to play out pretty favorably, I think, for the Yankees. I think it's going to play out great for Jazz. I think
he's awesome. Like, he's so undervalued. He's undervalued by people that, like, even Braves fans, like, just in general, he's undervalued, I think. Because I don't think people understand, like, the day-to-day, what he does, how electric he is. I mean, the guy's awesome. I've always been a fan of him.
Agreed. All right, let's hit the first set of ads here, and then I want to come back here and just kind of talk to you about 2024 the rest of the way. Like, what success looks like to you? Is it still a World Series, or are we in kind of panic mode? So we're going to talk about that shortly. But before we do that, firstly, let's let you know about our good friends and new friends, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, Liquid IV. Yes, sir. I mean, it's summertime, and everyone needs their Liquid IV. And when you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. You can get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. They've got all the flavors, guys. Blast off with the iconic summer flavor of popsicle firecracker, a festive blend of citrus, fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. You can find all your favorite flavors on their website, including my personal favorite of pina colada. Yes, sir. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order on Liquid IV. You can go to liquidiv.com and use the code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. And this episode is also brought to you by good friends over at SupplyHouse. Yes, sir. For all your DIY requirements, of course, you can get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is jam-packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to get you the job done right. So shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts and over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? No problem. Get expert support with industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order, guys. So join the thousands of pros, trade pros that is, already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, guys, welcome back to Locked On Marlins with me, Peter Pratt. And my good friend Alex Greenberg, but also known as @AcunaTracker on Twitter, of course. That's how everyone knows. It's handles. We know everyone by handles these days. AcunaTracker, absolutely.
I used to do 40/40 tracker, but then he got hurt, and
this is it.
Yeah, I just kind of stopped doing that.
I feel the pain. Listen, the 40/40 Jazz Tracker continues, so we know.
I love it. I love it. I was wondering if you were going to do that, and I was like, yes. You're just a fan of the player. You know what I mean? I appreciate that you still did it.
No doubt. I mean, and it's been a busy tracker as well since he went to New York. He's
been ripping bombs. Jazz Griffey Jr. I'm telling, like, this guy's just ripping bombs. Like, oh,
no doubt about it. Talk to me about 24 then. I mean, it looks like a wild card or bust here for the Braves, in my opinion. The offense seems to have been the problem for obvious reasons. There's lots of big pieces out of the offense. Some underperformance as well. So, as you kind of maybe readjust the focus for the rest of the way, like, what's good looking like for the Braves at this point, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, you know what? I would say that Alex, some people are like, oh, well, he didn't do enough, at the deadline. And look, we're missing our literally our two best players, our best pitcher and our best hitter for the entire year. The window's still wide open. It's not like this is it, No
doubt.
And to be honest, I mean, I think some of these fans forget that we have some like serious reinforcements on the way. I mean, Max Fried comes back this weekend. He hasn't pitched in over a month. Reynaldo Lopez has the lowest ERA in baseball. He comes back on Sunday. I don't even think he missed a start. And then
Warrior.
Yeah, I mean, and then you got Michael Harris, who I'm not sure what you're going to get out of him, but he will be back. I think within 10 days. I think the 14th. Ozzy Albies will be back early September. And then we have a lot of wild cards. So we got guys like Ian Anderson, who's cold-blooded when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, he puts 5 shutout against the Astros in 21, and he was like 22 years old. So I mean, the guy, who knows what to get out of him? But we have guys, and then Schwellenbach. And I think like if we could just keep this starting rotation somewhat healthy going into the playoffs, I think the rotation and the pitching as a whole looks different than last year. I mean, Iglesias just won reliever of the month. He didn't even let up an earned run the entire month in 10 appearances. I think like if you look at what we were missing last year was in the playoffs against the Phillies. I mean, we're starting Bryce Elder in like must-win games.
Yeah.
I mean, this year, man, if we could just get into there, you got Chris Sale, who is an absolute bulldog in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really, really, really seasoned, and so is Max Fried. I mean, Max didn't pitch great against that Phillies last year in the playoffs, but if you look at his body of work in general in the playoffs, it's really good. So you got those two guys. I don't know what you're going to get out of Morton. He's just kind of there right now. He wait till you see him tonight. I would not be surprised if he gets shelled again tonight by the AAA Marlins. But he got lit up last night. He's just, he's 40. He is what he is. And but we got some guys, and I Alex could have easily been like, okay, I'm gonna go all in, right? But our farm system was just recently ranked 16th. Up until like the last couple of years, between the penalties with the Capalella thing and all that, it was like 30th, 29th. So why would he give? Why would he give up some of these arms like Waldrop and AJ Smith-Shawver and like Drake Baldwin, who's a great catcher? Like, why would you give these assets up when the team has all these guys coming back? To your point, we're not necessarily like looking at the division, and I think we have enough coming back to really start. I mean, we're not in a bad spot. And
no way.
I mean, look what happened the last 2 years when we won the division. Like, we got bounced real fast in the playoffs. So it's actually kind of fun. It's almost, I like it. It's a different position than we've been in. We're chasing instead of being chased. We may not get that 5 days off thing. I kind of dig it. And I don't see any reason why, with Soler, coming on and finally getting on base guy on the top of the lineup, like, I don't see any reason why we can't, make some sort of a run in the playoffs. What do you think?
I'm seeing the same, to be honest. I mean, like, I've looked at the Braves the last couple of years where the division's a cakewalk. You cruise through September, the foot's off the gas, you then take some time off, and next thing is you're cold. Like, baseball's all about, intensity and momentum, I think. And I think because the Braves have just been so dominant in the regular season, it's meant that like and also the way that the roster's managed as well, they're very unique. I think the Braves, where like it's, you're trotting out the same dudes day after day after day after day. And, there's no respite. And I think they kind of get to the end. They're either, they've wound down a bit. The intensity's gone. And then maybe there's the hard season has bled into that as well. I don't know. But this, what we've seen when the Braves have performed in the postseason, they've had to tooth and nail it to get there. And then they've just carried that momentum rolling. And for me, that's what we've seen in baseball generally the last couple of years, is teams that have progressed deep into the postseason.
Look at the Diamondbacks last year.
That's what I mean. These guys, they sneak in, they're hot at the time, they get in, and next thing is they just end up steamrolling a couple of teams, and next thing is in the World Series, and you go, holy shit, the Diamondbacks are in the World Series. How's it happened? And that's just baseball, right? And I know a lot of people don't like that because, listen, 162 regular season, I get it that people see like, if you're the best team or a best, two or three teams, you should have a good chance of winning the World Series. But at the moment, like, 6 teams from each division, league, sorry. It is a bit of a lottery, I guess, in that postseason. But I think this suits the Braves, to be honest with you. The last 2 seasons, it hasn't suited them. And so, bit of pressure all the way, fighting to get in. I look at the clubs and I look at the NL. I don't know how you're seeing the NL, but I'm looking at the Phillies. They've just been spanked by the Yankees. I'm looking at the Dodgers. They've got their own injury woes. The Brewers are having similar issues. I don't think the Brewers are that good. The Padres are surging. The Diamondbacks, it's a bit, it's a bit vanilla, it feels, in the NL at this point. Like, it's there for anyone, and there's no reason why the Braves can't take it, in my opinion.
No reason at all. I mean, especially with that pitching staff. If these guys could just start hitting, like you get Olsen, Ozuna's going to get hot again because he's been kind of on a cold streak, but right. he's going to hit again. The guy can hit. And
no doubt.
You got Solari, Riley's starting to get hot at the right time. I mean, you got some guys that if they just they don't have to be last year's offense, know. But if they could just keep that pitching solid, I mean, and just be a good offense, then I think they have just as good a shot as any, really, right? I mean,
why not? Knows? I mean, to your point, like Sale's rolling, he's been immense this year. Lopez has been, one hell of a pickup, obviously. I mean, so Sale as well, but like Fried, I'm with you. It feels to me like Fried's due a big postseason as well, to be honest with you. And, probably 3 starters and, those top 3, it's going to keep you in the mix. The bullpen looks pretty solid, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think it's going to come down to the offense has been the problem recently. And we know why, because it's heavily depleted. And, Olsen's on a bit of a down. He's been a little bit down. Maybe he's catching fire now. Murphy's been a bit down. But all of a sudden, Murphy, Olsen, Riley back in the mix. Add Soler into the mix. Ozuna catches fire. Albies is back. It looks completely different. It's a completely different outlook, right?
Who knows? I mean, I'm willing to take those chances. I think it's
no doubt.
I think it'll be a fun rest of the year for sure.
No doubt. Let me hit the final ad. I want to get one final question out of you. It's a big one. It's just a Braves perspective on what the Marlins did.
I was hoping you asked that. Awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So we're going to cover that in a sec. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at Game Time. Yes, sir. And Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Listen, guys, it's going to be a big series in Atlanta. 4 games. Get yourselves onto Game Time and see what deals you can get. For me, the biggest thing, the thing I hate most about buying tickets online is those surprise fees at checkout. You found your ticket, you found your seat, it looks good, it's in budget, all good. Next thing is you're at checkout, fee for this, fee for that, fee for that. Next thing is it's double the price. I absolutely hate that. With Game Time, you've got all in pricing. Toggle this feature and it shows you the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. You know what you're buying and you know the price before you get all that way into checkout. Also, I want to know where I'm sitting. I want to know how close I am to the action. You can get panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, and AcunaTracker, also known as Alex Greenberg. And we've been previewing or talking about the Braves in the main, which has been a really insightful conversation because we haven't seen each other for a while. It's going to be a fun series. But Alex, I wanted to get your sense from a division rival perspective. The Marlins were the 5 seed in the NL last year. They have made some changes in the front office. They have embarked on a huge amount of activity at the deadline, also moving Luis Arias much earlier in the season, fundamentally signaling that the season was over in early May. Big call from the new president of baseball ops. What's your take from afar, looking at what the Marlins have done, how they've gone about their business at this deadline?
I would say this. It's if I were a Marlins fan, it would be really easy for me to be like, here we go again. Because if you look like 5 years ago, you're like, oh, the best Brinson. I love Brinson, by the way. But Brinson, like all these guys, like we have the great farm system. Like this is great, Yeah. And but I think that bringing Bendix, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think bringing him in here, the guy, it comes from the fabric, the right fabric, which is the Rays, how they do business. I think that he was very calculated about his moves, and he said, look, we're gonna build this my way, and this is how it's gonna be. And I do think that this round of rebuild, if you will, looks different. And to be honest, if I was a Marlins fan right now, I would feel like how I did in 2016-17. So maybe the team's not competitive. And I know I saw an interview where he was like kind of bullish on whether or not they're going to be competitive. Who cares? If this team, the worst place for a team to be is in the middle with no direction. So coming off of last year, the Marlins were kind of in the middle in a way with not really, whatever. But now, dude, you have fresh slate and the system is loaded with like legitimate like studs. When I was it was like 2016-17 with the Braves, the team sucked. But man, did I not have so much fun keeping track of Acuna, Albies, Swanson, all these guys that the next wave is coming. Like this is fun. I had just as much fun watching those guys as I do watching this success because I actually feel like I grew up with these guys in a way. So I actually think that this is different. I don't think this is the same old Marlins rebuild. Now, if they're going to spend money once they get these guys up here, I don't know, but maybe. But the Rays don't, and the Rays are winners. So, I think the talent that this guy got back was really good on the surface, and I think that you have, like, if I were a Marlins fan, I would start watching AAA games, AA games. I'd be like, man, this is the next wave. Like these guys are legit. I like what they're doing. I really do. I wish they would have kept Jazz though. I really do. But
me too.
Other than that, I like what they're doing.
I think it's a really good observation though, by the way. And I think it's really good to use that as an example of you go through a rebuild, but actually you keep one guy specifically that is a fan favorite you attach with, and you think, okay, we're just gonna build around this guy too. I know it's going to take a few years, but equally it gives the fans a connection. So I think it's a really good observation too. Clearly, the Marlins have moved on from Jazz. It is what it is. The funny thing is, and this is interesting, where the content coverage and from guys on Twitter has already heavily shifted to AA and AAA now, right? Like all of a sudden, every day. I mean, I wake up in the morning, you're catching up on the night games.
Yeah, so you're doing it. Yeah.
Everyone's going crazy, and all of a sudden, the AA Pensacola team last night is ablaze. I think one of the guys they got back actually in the Jazz trade, I think, had a 4-hit day, 6 RBIs. Everyone's like, the Marlins have nailed it. And, Pensacola put up 16 runs or something crazy. So, yeah, to your point, it's just a different viewing experience maybe where you just slightly adjust your lens. You go and enjoy AA, AAA for a year or two, and you watch that wave come through, ideally to the big league level, and then you see what's cooking. So, it's an interesting – I'm with you. I do think – I would be looking on this slightly differently if they made these moves, but Jazz was still there. I think I'd be seeing it slightly differently, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So 4-game series, we run out of time a little bit, but one final question for you really here is 4-game series. What, Max Meyer going in game 1 for the Marlins. I think Edward Cabrera is going in game 4. Beozo, I think, is up for game 2.
You might be going in game 3.
Exactly.
You might be pitching game 3, it looks like.
No doubt. I mean, this is it. Like, they're struggling a touch. Obviously, the IL is loaded for the Marlins pitching-wise. But, what are you hoping for at this point? I guess just a series win for the Braves, right? But if it's a sweep, then even better, right?
I to be honest, I do think this is a big series for the Braves because you went on that 7-game losing streak. We got spanked by the Mets that first night, but then we came back. We played some good games, and then we go to Milwaukee, and we could have swept that series. We blew the first game, which my buddy still talks about Snickers bullpen management 5 days later. But we blew that first game. We won the next 2 games, and the Phillies are reeling. So while I'm with you, I don't think that. I mean, it'd be cool if we got the division. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think with it being so tight and coming off these nice series wins and putting that 7-game streak behind us and getting these new guys in the clubhouse, I think this is actually a pivotal series in terms of setting the tone for the rest of the season. I mean, if we lost 3 out of 4 or something like that in the series, that's not good. We need to set the tone.
No, I see it exactly the same. You get post deadline, you're into now. This is the final stretch, right? This is where teams need to, show, are we really in this, or are we going to fade away? And I think for the Bravos against a heavily the Marlins traded away at least a third of their roster at the deadline alone. And so
they said the graphic guy that had to make the thank you graphics, he got worn out those last couple of days on their Twitter.
My, oh my. I mean, that was some heavy work. I mean, the social media team has been, they've been working hard, and the marketing team, no doubt, to keep a track of them. But, this is a series, the Braves, they need to win. It's not about, a split's fine and whatever. The Braves need to win this series, and they need to, get some momentum rolling. I think it's going to be very interesting. To your point, the Phils are reeling a bit. So I know we've not really talked division, but, it does feel like it's a sizable gap. But the Phils are coming back to the pack. So, who knows? Who knows how it goes? But I mean, you've already won the last 2. You sweep the Marlins here. Don't know who the Phils are playing right now, but all of a sudden, could that gap be down to, 4? After this weekend? I don't know. It could, things tighten up. So either way, I'm seeing it probably similar to you. I think I'm very interested to watch Max Meyer. For me, pitching wise,
that was going to be my question. Who are you? Who should I be excited to watch this weekend in this depleted Marlins team? Meyer.
I think from a pitching perspective, Max Meyer, absolutely. Only because he was up unexpectedly at the start of the year. He ends up going against the Braves, a loaded Braves back then. It was the full, it was the full Braves, and they obviously started hot too back then, the Braves, first few weeks. And he pitched out of his mind, best career start, I'd say. And the next day was optioned. The Marlins playing a little bit of service time aspect, a little bit of something going on. So it's great to see him back up. Well, these are the tests for Max Meyer. I've still got some, there's some question marks in my mind about how good can he be. So for me, these are the types of games that you want to see. From an offensive standpoint, there's 2 guys in particular I've got my eyeballs on, and I think that you should have too.
Yeah, I'm about to.
Xavier Edwards has absolutely gone bananas since he's got up. He's basically turned into Luis Arias, but can actually play defense and can run. So Xavier Edwards has been, unreal. So that's been a huge positive. The other guy that I'm very closely watching is the new guy acquired from the Orioles, Kyle Stowers.
Is that the one that hit the cycle?
Xavier Edwards, yeah.
Xavier Edwards, yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, he had the cycle the other day.
Awesome.
So no doubt, and that's straight off the back of Arias' cycle last year. So yeah, for me, Arias, he's the new spark plug, I'd say, offensively. But Kyle Stowers, he made his debut, straight off a jet, straight into the lineup. 0 for 4 day, 4 Ks, the golden sombrero on debut. So, okay, let's settle down a bit. Let's see what you can do in Atlanta. And for me, huge test for him. So I'm very interested to see how he goes. But, we're all rooting for him. And I must say, the call out, I'd say, and I'm interested, we'll speak during the series, of course. There's definitely some Jock Peterson vibes about him, looks-wise.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
really?
keep your eyes on Kyle Stowers, mate. Give me a sense. I mean, I haven't connected with him on Twitter or anything. I need to send him a DM and just say, I need to say, listen, Kyle, are you a red wine guy? That's the main question that's unanswered at this point. So
the wine club. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love Jock Peterson, man. That guy could do no wrong.
I'm stunned that he didn't return actually at this deadline for the Braves. I thought that was nailed on. As soon as I seen Soler, I was like, oh man, here we go.
Well, I think if the Diamondbacks weren't in it, I think we would have just we would have probably made a run at him, I'm sure. He's awesome.
I'm pretty sure AA made the call. I'm convinced he would have.
Oh, he had to. Yeah, he loves old friends.
No doubt.
That's great, dude.
All right, well, we're out of time. Guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's going to be a fun series against the Braves, two clubs in different directions, but nevertheless, there's some storylines to track, no doubt about it. Thanks to Alex Greenberg, also known as @AcunaTracker, for joining me, giving his insights on the Braves, and a little bit of insight. I don't know if he'll thank me for saying this, but his first ever podcast appearance, and I think he absolutely nailed it. Be sure to follow him @AcunaTracker. No doubt the 40-40 tracker will be back next season, and the Jazz tracker will live on. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow as we dig into Max Meyer's start, no doubt about it. Hopefully for a Marlins win. Wait to see, and we'll see you then.